Welcome to this edition of TAC Tic Talk. I'm Dr. Joe Busch, the editor of the American Chiropractor magazine, along with Jaclyn Busch, publisher. Today we are joined with Dr. Stephan Ediss, consultant, speaker for Nutri-West. Welcome to the program, Dr. Ediss.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're honored to have you. And now, Dr. Ediss, you've been writing over the last year, I'd say, on different topics about chiropractic, nutritional supplementation, your experience with applied kinesiology. You just have a vast knowledge base that it's important we pass on to the readers here. Can you tell a little bit about some of the influential role models that you had in developing your techniques?
That's a great question, and thank you again for having me. My oldest brother was a chiropractor. He graduated from Los Angeles College of Chiropractic in 1974. And then I've got another brother who's a chiropractor. He graduated in 1984. So those guys kind of got me rolling into the business. My dad was a dentist who practiced homeopathy. So we always did alternative healthcare in our family. It's just the way it's been. So now I've got a nephew who is also a chiropractor and a cousin who's a chiropractor. So it just kind of spread throughout the family. My biggest mentors, my father-in-law, Dr. Paul White, Wally Schmidt, who recently passed away in the last couple of years, Dr. Richard Belly, Dr. Ben Markham, a bunch of them. There's a bunch that are out there that I have followed. I've learned a ton from. Dr. John Bandy is another great one. Dr. Murphy's been keeping me running.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of presentations with him as well. Great source of information. So through the years, I've figured out that as a chiropractor, you are as good as the number of tools that you've got available to you. And I've got an extra certification in acupuncture, and I'm a professional applied kinesiology certified through the International College of Applied Kinesiology. I did Dr. Bob Blake's classes to get my certification. And I actually started back when I was an intern.
Wow.
Actually, before my internship in chiropractic school.
So that was probably what, in the late 80s?
Yeah, actually, I started in '89
Mm-hmm.
and graduated in '92.
So that was when all of that with the applied kinesiology, the U.S. Olympic team, I think, even was having some of that
Correct.
type of therapy with Dr. Goodhart there. So you just mentioned a who's who of all of these guys that have really carried forth that tradition and even now evolved into functional medicine. So that was your original tool. You mentioned it's important to have a lot of tools. Is that what you consider as being that?
Well, yeah. So applied kinesiology, in my experience, has been like the magic bag. There are so many different applications that come out of it, whether it be nutritional work, acupuncture, cranial therapy, adjusting techniques, um, lymphatic work, emotional work. It really encompasses a holistic approach. And when you take a applied kinesiology certification course, they help you understand each component of that. And then the trick is to figure out what tool do I use when.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And so when did you get the acupuncture certification? I'm sure there are a lot of students out there right now, like, how do I become, like a guy who can integrate all of these different tools? What's the step-by-step process? At what point did you decide I needed another tool with acupuncture?
Okay, so they teach some basics of acupuncture in the 100-hour certification class through the International College of Applied Kinesiology. There's a
Mm-hmm.
number of good instructors out there who teach the 100-hour course. It's spread out over months.
Mm-hmm.
I got an additional certification through Dr. John Amaro through
Sure.
the endorsement on my credentials is FIACA, Fellow of
Mm-hmm.
the International Academy of Clinical Acupuncture. Dr.
Mhm.
Amaro passed away 2 years ago, I think, year and a
Was
half
it that
ago,
long? It seems like less, yeah, but it was very recent.
something like that. But I believe that his original company is still being run by somebody who's, I'm sure, extremely qualified in
Mhm.
delivering the information in a way that's really understandable and easy to pick up and use. And
Mhm.
that was my great appreciation. The guy was brilliant. He was a great instructor. He was a good guy.
Absolutely. So now you're speaking on Nutri-West's program schedule, correct? I know that you do at least teach at the annual seminar. Can you talk
Correct.
a little bit about that, the different topics you cover and ways that listeners might be able to hear your message?
Sure. So I'm getting ready to present in Denver next weekend with Dan Murphy. And Dan Murphy is, as anyone who's met him before or read anything about him, he is a master of research and peer review articles and organizing them into topics. So he's going to be covering a variety of research on Friday. And then when I begin, I will be on Saturday. There will be an open forum for the doctors to ask both of us questions at the same time. And then when that period is over, then I begin to explain how to take what Dr. Murphy's been doing and clinically apply it in life experience, or more accurately, real time, game time action. When a patient presents, how do I take that information and deliver it into the techniques that we use? So, this subject's going to be covering a lot of stuff about the vagus nerve,
Mhm.
neurodegenerative disease processes. Um, we're going to be covering a lot of things about the effects of ultra processed foods
Mhm.
and what it does to inflammation cycles, gut health. Um, that's what's coming up off the top of my head. I think towards the end, I'm going to be reviewing some. Towards the end, I'm going to be reviewing some postural analysis type techniques, where in actuality, what we're doing is going to be more concerned with how do we correct the patient and how do we reset the patient's neurology.
Sounds fantastic. I mean, I know that if I'm ever around a seminar that Dan Murphy's going to speak and I want to be there. So to
Yeah,
have
he's
you help implement that into the clinic is a double advantage, right? So, but you only
there.
do that one time a year, or is that something that you do
No, actually, we'll be
periodically?
doing that. We'll be doing that in Denver. And
Hmm.
then I'll be doing a presentation of similar information, a little more hands on, in Spokane the following weekend. And
Hmm.
then in October, we're going to be in New Orleans. And that's what I remember off the top of my head. But if you go to info at nutriwest.net, there's a complete listing of everybody's schedules of our complete NutriWest faculty and where everybody's going to be.
Perfect. So they look it up on the Nutri-West website. Go ahead, Jaclyn.
Yes.
Dr. Steve, I wanted to jump in and ask because I don't know if we've given like your affiliation. I know you mentioned your father-in-law is the founder of Nutri-West. So can you tell us a little bit about your history? You're an active clinician, which is something that for us, we're always looking for people who are walking the talk. So you're kind of this unique brand of a chiropractor who's in practice and who's affiliated with a nutrition company, and that gives you an outlet to be an active speaker, I guess. So I wanted to find out if you can share with our audience a little bit about how long of a history you've got, not just in chiropractic, but also with Nutri-West.
So as I mentioned, my older brothers are chiropractors, and they had been customers of NutriWest and using their products. So in essence, as a kid, excuse me, I grew up taking NutriWest supplements. I was working for a chiropractor in Phoenix, and he was double booked and asked me to fill in for him at a Parker seminar in Las Vegas. And there I met my beautiful bride, Michelle White, Dr. White's daughter. Um, we fell in love, and what happens in Vegas ends up in Wyoming. Been together for 28 years. And so she is the owner, operator, president, ruler of the company. And I try to help her where I can, whether it be physically at the plant or in doing productions like this, speaking on their behalf, writing articles. Michelle is beautiful, smart, and determined to carry on the family tradition that Dr. White started of providing the best synergistic products on the market by doctors for doctors. So all of our formulators are, most of them are chiropractors. We have Dr. Lynn Toohey. She is a PhD in nutrition and she also helps formulate. But for the most part, all chiropractors contributing to make the formulations for chiropractors in practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's outstanding. So it just kind of keep it in the family. But now she's really, taking the reins over and just kind of taking it to the next level, right? There has been a character change between when Dr. White was running the company versus what you see now. It looks like it's a bit more. She's including different types of formulations. Can you talk on that, on any differences that may be present between pre her role with the company in this management style?
Her management style is very hands-on. She is the face of the company. We
Mm-hmm.
try to be in as many locations as possible while she's still trying to run the company. So
Mm-hmm.
she can't be in three places at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not shy to talk to any of the customers.
Mm-hmm.
We do the Winter Symposium, as you had mentioned. It's a great, great event. This year, it is going to be, let me find my note here. It's going to be in 2026, January 30th through February 1st in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the title of it is Mobility is Life, Life is in Motion. And we're going to
Mm-hmm.
have a great cast of presenters. During that seminar, on one of those evenings, we actually host a
Mm-hmm.
open party to all who attend, where we can
Mm-hmm.
just go to our house. Actually, we have a house in Scottsdale. We bring everybody over there. We feed them. We hang out. We have a couple of drinks and talk, and they can ask us anything. And she's actually just one of those people who loves to be involved and loves the business, loves her customers. She loves what our customers do for people.
Very
She's very,
hands-on.
That's
yes.
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Yeah, it's important to have that proximity with the ownership of a company where you're relying on their supplements for your patient's health. So
Well, and that's
that's
one of the things that's mentioned repetitively during one of those symposium mixers or even at the symposium
Mm-hmm.
when doctors go to other companies' presentations. The owners aren't there. Um, kind of dry, present the material, now get out of here. And that's
mm,
kind of that's what I've been told. I don't go to them, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've been told. So in ours, we are very hands-on. We we are there to answer people's questions and help them in any way get out of their weekend what they came to get. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
important to us because everybody's time is important. We don't want anybody to come in feeling like it was a waste of time. We get
Mm-hmm.
very good reviews.
Well, and Dr. Steve, with your over 30 years in practice, you have and of course, your involvement with a nutrition manufacturing company, which is still under private ownership, which in this day and age, like that speaks volumes. I think almost everybody's sold out, almost everybody. So you're kind of one of the last of the Mohicans, the last of the,
Right?
standing guardians of the nutrition industry, especially in chiropractic. So that gives you such a unique perspective. So I wanted to ask if you can tell us a little bit, especially because the pronunciation of your last name, Dr. Ediss, like as in Thomas Edison, of course, from our famous quotes about the doctor of the future. So I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the doctor of the future, how are things changing in the chiropractic industry as far as patient assessment goes and techniques for assessing, do you think, with your unique perspective?
Well, from what I've observed, one of the things that really helped get the general public's attention was the mishandling of the pandemic, and it's got people, the general public, frightened. And as a result, they want to go to some place where they can be as healthy as possible. They realized, if I'm in bad shape and a disease process begins, I'm behind the eight ball already because I've got issues that I ignored. People have become more proactive in their care. They want to intercept problems before they begin. And so this is seen with how people are more pushing towards health care providers versus sickness care providers. They're done being sick. They don't want to take pharmaceuticals. They want to just find out where the base problems are located, what got me there, and how do I get back out. And with our educational faculty, we cover a huge myriad of topics, and they're always changing because they're staying up with the most cutting edge. Uh, uh, what do you call it?
Research.
Research. Thank you. I was drawing a blank there. So, as an
Okay.
example, the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, it's growing. It's gaining some resistance, but a lot of attention. The resistance comes from people who don't want status quo to change. It's gaining it's gaining momentum because everybody wants cleaner food. You go to Europe, I don't know what it's like in Panama, but when you go to Europe, it's illegal to have a lot of the things in their food that we put in our foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so JFK Jr. is doing his best to eliminate preservatives and food colorings and like things like high fructose corn syrup, everything that helps keep America sick, he's trying to undo.
Mm-hmm.
President Trump has a nominee by the name of Casey Means. She's an MD, graduated from Stanford, and she's got a great speech that she gave when she started to more or less campaign on the behalf of this is where I want to see this go. And one of the funny things that she brought up, what the crux of it was, I went to Stanford Medical School. Let me tell you everything that they did not teach me in medical school. And it's everything that Nutri-West faculty teaches: nutrition, inflammation, preservatives and the effects of it, side effects, adverse side effects of prescription medications, um, over processing of food, genetically modified foods, clean drinking waters, the effects of too much caffeine and food coloring and things like that in our foods and regular drinking water. So if she gets confirmed, it'll be interesting to see where she goes with that. But at
Mm-hmm.
least it's good to know that not only was the public asking for it, but now we're getting some people that are currently in government looking to help fulfill that desire to have an alternative to what's been to the status quo.
And that's amazing because, as chiropractors, we've of course lived this over the last 30 years at least, right? We've
Right.
witnessed the train wreck that is the United States healthcare system. And now
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the narrative has changed, right? Chiropractors are still we're still kind of on the sidelines, but it's the same message we've been saying for all that time.
In what I tell my audience when I'm lecturing is that you can sit on the sidelines or you can get in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And attending these classes to become better at what you do is the first step to getting in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do is hold your hand through it, help you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and be able to explain it to your patients in a way that they understand it. Not a bunch of medical terminology and things like that. We want to give it to them in lay person's
Mm-hmm.
in lay language. So, when Dr. Murphy lectures, he presents all of the research and so forth. He does an awesome job with risk management, traumatic brain injury, whiplash, things like that. He also has a great course that he teaches on how to handle depositions, documentation, things like that.
Hmm.
We also have other doctors like Dr. Brandon Lundell and Dr. Brandon Brock. They both do a lot of functional medicine. They do some neurology, some acupuncture, some laser work, a lot of good stuff that way. We've got Dr. Jared Alamong. He does a lot of epigenetics work and the methylation process, which is all of this stuff is cutting edge information. We've been doing it for probably a good 10 years, but now everybody's starting to catch on. So
Hmm.
usually we're about 10 to 15 years ahead of the curve.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And so
So,
when people learn about it at a podcast, read it in
Mm-hmm.
a magazine, something like
mhm,
that, they look at it and they go, "Oh, this is huge. Let's do it." Congratulations, it's been around for a long time. So stick with the leaders and be up on it before it hits the public.
Well, and
mhm. And
Dr. Steve, I wanted to ask you too then. So, utilizing all this knowledge that you have, what would an office visit look like with your program?
In my program, what an office visit looks like is I never skip steps. I do a very good patient history intake, and I straight up tell the patient, I'm going to interrogate you. I want to know everything there is to know about your medical history, your life history, because everything counts, and you'll find out why here in a moment. Then, after taking the history, I never skip an exam.
Mm-hmm.
I do it, even if it looks like a slam dunk, you think you know what it is. I do the entire process every time. It's a little time consuming, but the biggest comment or most consistent comment I get from the patient is, I've never had a history like that. Nobody's ever asked me those questions before. Nobody's ever done an exam like this where you're everywhere. You're looking at everything. I
Mm-hmm.
really feel like you're getting a good evaluation here. Good. So then the first thing I do is make sure that their nervous system's functioning correctly when I go into the treatment portion of the visit. And during that treatment portion, I make sure that they're neurologically organized. I make sure that the left and right brain are firing correctly. And I explain to them your body functions like a computer. Your brain and your spinal cord are like the hard drive of that computer. And all proprioceptive qualities, your ability to sense pain, vibration, hot and cold, joint position, taste, smelling, hearing, those are all software programs. And those software programs tell the hard drive what's taking place in the periphery. Then the hard drive, your brain, tells your body what to do with that input. If that communication's messed up, no matter how you adjust them, it's going to mess the whole thing up because the communication's not working correctly. In a sense, it downregulates and upregulates where necessary to bring them back to what I call factory settings.
Mm-hmm.
When a person is injured, it leaves a bad file in that hard drive. And that bad file will make errant function when the nervous system's communicating with the rest of the body. There is a principle called the central integrative system or the ventral horn theory. There's a great paper written by Michael Cohen, who's a AK diplomate and chiropractic neurologist out of, I think he's in Lake Forest, California, in Southern California. He wrote a great paper about the central integrative system that really explains it. But the crux of it basically is this: the entire nervous system is integrated. You're not separate parts. Your brain takes all this input in from multiple vectors, will extrapolate priorities and release commands right back out to your body on how to respond. So that when you're at a concert and you've got loud noise, people bumping into you, lights hitting you in the face, weather changes, whatever it is, your nervous system's able to adapt to all of that simultaneously. That's part of the function of the central integrative system, which affects structure, chemistry, emotions, gut function, acupuncture system, the whole 9 yards, the entire body. So there's a way to access that, and it's a really long story, but I won't get into it. But basically, that first visit, we want to get them back to factory settings, and then I go through and adjust them and do my best to knock their pain down
Mm-hmm.
or get rid of it. Then they come back relatively soon, within a
Mm-hmm.
week, 10 days,
Yeah.
let them do whatever they're going to do in most situations, and then reassess and see what falls apart and fine tune it until we keep them locked in to a
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable functional level.
And Dr. Steve, then does this also relate to, with supplementation? A lot of times people want to just say, "Hey, take these forever," and then in the business we're in, heck, we hear about the contraindications and the bad effects of taking the wrong supplements with no oversight. So, can you tell us a little about that? Because I understand with Nutri-West that you have to be a practitioner in order to even have an account. Tell us
Right.
a little about the why and how that works. Um,
Sure. So, during that assessment process, we can actually evaluate what is dysfunctional and where the deficits are. That's how we come to the conclusion as to what they need. That's the way I do it.
mm-hmm,
The guys who do functional medicine and the ones who do methylation and epigenetics, those guys have their methodology of arriving roughly about the same answer. Okay.
mm-hmm,
You're
So
doing
it's,
AK. You're doing
mm-hmm,
yes,
AK
sir.
testing.
I'm
Yeah.
doing applied kinesiology,
Yeah.
a lot of functional neurology with that.
Hmm.
There's contraindications when a patient presents that they're on some kind of a medication. Not all nutrients can be mixed with certain medications. Certain medications are designed to deplete your body of stuff intentionally to get a desired result. Raise one thing, lower another, whatever it is.
mm-hmm,
So the way that Nutri-West functions is we want to make sure that the general public is guided by our customers to make sure that there's some kind of professional oversight and that they're actually getting what they need versus something that they read about.
mm-hmm,
Reading about stuff is a great marketing tool. They put it out there, but who needs what and who doesn't need it? What can I combine it with? Your healthcare professional should be handling that. What we do at Nutri-West is when when a doctor signs up as a customer and registers in our portal, they have access to research information. They could ask us questions. We take on general information questions, but once they get in there, they could also set up a portal where their patients can get in on a patient portal. They can place orders under that healthcare provider's account so that
mm-hmm,
we know that they're still being guided. We like to make sure that because Nutri-West works so hard to provide the exact ingredients is in the exact pill and vice versa, we want to ensure that the customers are getting our exact product. It comes from factory direct. If somebody buys it online through a different purveyor, in e-commerce or Amazon, for instance, it's not from us. And we get patients or people who have done it. They're not even our customers. They just got on there, they heard about our products, get on Amazon, buy a product, they get it. The bottle's been already tampered with. They call us and complain. We ask them where they got it. Amazon.
mm-hmm,
Okay, that's not from us. You order from us with the guidance of your healthcare professional. So we
mm-hmm,
make sure that you are getting that great quality that we're guaranteeing,
mm-hmm,
and somebody's helping you through that. And that's the importance of making sure that we keep that under control. There's a lot of big companies that decided selling their product is more important than protecting the doctors who help promote your product as well as the patients who are taking it.
mm-hmm. Isn't that the truth? That is a scary factor. Well,
Well, that's Amazon, right? I mean, Amazon tries to infiltrate, and then the third parties try to get involved.
Yeah. But a
yeah.
lot of those e-commerce ones will do that. It's not just
Yeah.
Amazon, but a lot of different ones will do it. And
Mhm.
I don't even know where they get their stuff from. I know that
Mm-hmm,
those places do not get it from us. Ours is very carefully handled to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere but where it's supposed to.
Right.
mm-hmm,
So on that subject, when when we have doctors who want to do lab work and do functional medicine,
mm-hmm,
NutriWest also provides a program. Well, we have access to it. It's actually done by Dr. Lynn Tui. She is
mm-hmm,
a PhD in nutrition. She's been with the company for 35 years or so, I would say. That's my
mm-hmm.
guess. She developed a program, and you can get a hold of her through Dr. Tui at Nutri-West, nutri-west.net.
Mm-hmm.
And her program is called FH Eval. And it's a really interesting program. What it does is you take your lab results with the patient parameters, vitals,
Mm-hmm.
and input it into the software program. And it will go from what is optimal for the patient versus what the reference range is. So if
Mm-hmm.
the patient, excuse me, if the patient reference range is within reference range, it may not be an optimal level for who they are,
Mm-hmm.
middle-aged female, certain weight, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what it does is it takes all of the different analytes and combines them from the perspective of functional physiology and determines, because these numbers are up and these ones are down, it's an indicator that the adrenal glands need to be addressed, or it's an indicator
Mm-hmm.
that the liver needs support, and so on. And so this program, when it gives the final report, it'll
Mm-hmm.
let you know priority wise which systems are messed up the most.
Mm-hmm.
It'll give a definition for the patient, what it is, how it got there, which analytes made us think that, and then nutritional recommendations and dietary recommendations, so that we know that based on their blood work, this is the most appropriate approach for supporting the body nutritionally.
That sounds
What?
fantastic. Now, are they putting in the lab values, or do you just take the blood sample, run it through your
No,
program?
the lab results get input into the software program.
Okay.
So your
You.
local lab, whatever you're using, you take
hmm
those numbers and they get input into the FH eval program.
hmm
What's that web address again?
It was an email, actually,
It was
Oh,
an
but
email,
yeah.
Dr. Toohey, Toohey at Nutri, Nutri hyphen west.net.
okay.
hmm
And worst comes to worst, you can just go to info at nutri-west.net,
Okay.
and you can be guided from there. It makes it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Nutri-West also has a handy app that you can put on your phone that
Mm-hmm.
will shadow the actual home website. So once you
Mm-hmm.
log into it, you should be able to access most everything that's in there.
Whoa,
Oh,
that
great.
sounds cool.
Yep,
So that would be once you create a profile with Nutri-West, then
correct,
you could have access to that type of
correct.
information.
And is there a phone number? Is that the main website, nutra-west.net?
Wow, you're going to give me a quiz. The local number is 307-358 no, let's see, 5066.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if I've got it right here. The 800 number is
Mm-hmm.
800-443-3333.
All right,
So
good. Well, we want to make sure the readers can find and make it easy if they are interested in opening an account, having access to your supplements, and also, of course, more information about your courses that you guys offer.
no,
To give,
I mean, this is just an introduction. Steve could go on about all of this stuff for literally 10 hours.
he asked, he said, "Do you want a course?" I said, "Well, we're just going to start with a podcast interview."
I
All
mean,
right.
I'm intrigued because the most recent article that you provided, and but what I was saying was over time, it seems like the Nutri-West approach it's kind of evolved. I think I'd say 20 or 30 years ago, was it more oriented towards that AK type approach, but now it's kind of more towards the functional health approach. I don't know. That's
Correct.
just what I interpreted,
That's
but
that's a
um,
great way to put it. It's gotten more and more functional, and as a result, I view each product as a tool. Um, I give the patient what they need and no more and no less.
mhm,
You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's about helping the patients and make them feel better, make
Mm-hmm.
them
mhm.
not just feel better, but correct the issues at hand. And to
Mm-hmm.
do that, proper assessment is really important. And using a top quality product is pivotal. If you put junk in, you're getting junk back.
Right. And you mentioned that your seminars were on like neurodegenerative conditions, which we all see as being like this giant nightmare around the corner for the US as well as the
Yeah.
world. But And it kind of it fits in with whiplash and a lot of these TBIs, MTBIs and all this. So
Absolutely.
I mean, just what an opportunity. If you're in the area, you have a chance to go to the seminar. I'm sure it's going to just, accelerate whatever you're doing in the clinic. So I definitely recommend it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I had a quick question I wanted to add in, Dr. Steve, before we end everything. I know we're getting close to the time limit, but I wanted to ask in particular because when we talk about nutritional supplements, and I get access to Michelle, the owner, and everything, and I'm a patient. I'm not a doctor. Dr. Joe's the doctor, but I'm always looking for can I just take this forever? And she'll be like, well. No, you have to be always tested on it. I'm like, I've got to make sure I'm getting tested. And so those are the questions when we talk about whole food supplements, eating, I mean, believe me, I try to eat a healthy diet, but at the end of the day, I've decided supplementing is the easiest way. The thing is then too is the whole food supplements versus, everything else. Tell me how Nutri-West fits into that whole model.
Well, Nutri-West has some whole food type products that would be like Total Green, Phyto
Mhm.
Renew. It's got the rudimentary baby greens for high antioxidant and high antioxidant
Mhm.
functions to it. Okay, so
Mhm.
fruit and vegetables in basically a powdered form. Okay, they can
Mhm.
be added to um, shakes. They come in chewables, things like that.
Mhm.
Aside from that, when people eat out, because you're not going to just only eat at home, and the food that you buy in the store isn't always going to contain the nutrients that you think are in it. They're
Mhm.
going to be short. The soil can only deliver so much to the food. There was a book written years ago called Empty Harvest, and
Uh-huh.
that guy had discussed the soil becomes depleted if you don't crop rotate or do something to feed the soil. There's no way the food can have it. This increases the need for proper vitamin nutrient supplementation
Mhm.
aside from just food.
Mhm.
So it has its place,
Mhm.
being just food, but it's not an end all
Mhm.
because the damages that are done from ultra processed foods and
Mhm.
food sensitivities from that processing uh, process
Mhm.
creates damage to the cells of the liver, the gut lining. You got to think about this. Your
Mhm.
intestinal lining produces about 90% of your serotonin.
Mhm.
It produces a ton of your neurotransmitters. It's
Wow.
50% of your immune system. If your gut's inflamed, you got a big problem. You
Wow.
got to get the inflammation down. Adding food to it's not going to take the inflammation down. You have to do things to drive inflammation down intentionally. There
Mhm.
are things like a dysfunctional gallbladder. What happens if your gallbladder quits working besides getting
Mm.
a stomach ache? The gallbladder
Mhm.
quits working. We get an oil slick on the intestinal lining. Now there's no way that the nutrients can penetrate the cells that are supposed to absorb it. With
Wow.
proper emulsification, the fat gets out of the way and can
Mhm.
actually be used by the body, as well
Mhm.
as you can absorb the nutrients. Irritable bowel syndrome
Mm.
is basically demonstrated regularly on a clinical basis as an ileocecal valve malfunction. I teach that
Mhm.
assessment almost every time I lecture because
Uh-huh.
it's really important to make sure that the gut functions correctly. Without the
Mhm.
gut functioning correctly, you're going to have problems in a
Mhm.
myriad of directions. The greatest stressor to the adrenal glands is an overload of histamines. The
Mhm.
histamines come from the sensitivities. If the
Mhm.
sensitivities to foods and environmental sensitivities is not addressed, or if you can't break down your histamines, the adrenal
Mhm.
glands can never recover.
Mhm.
So, what we do is we take this methodical approach in assessment to make sure that we're being accurate in what we're doing.
Mhm. That's amazing.
Very
Well, let
cool.
me
Legend of the applied kinesiology technique, I can tell already. So if you're interested in that, I would urge you to go to one of these courses, like I mentioned earlier. Now, do you see it as being less attractive for recent graduates, say the AK approach versus I mean, everyone's getting into functional neurology and this other stuff. And I mean, I just know that there's this very specific skill set with the AK approach that I don't know. I think it seems to be like diminishing the amount of people that are taking on that course load. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. You know, the skill set is something that you develop. It's like being a musician. You
Hmm.
can play basic chords, but can you play up and down the fretboard on a guitar?
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to practice that and you have to earn it. It doesn't
Mhm.
just drop in your lap, you read it in a book and go out and do it.
Hmm.
There's theory, and then there's eye hand coordination. And then there's this intuition that we all have if you choose to
Mhm.
tap into it.
Mhm.
And that intuition, as you develop it, makes it less like work and more fun. You're
Mhm.
problem solving nonstop. And the more familiar you become with what your tools are capable of doing and where to apply them, you get better at it. So for
Mhm.
the students that come out of school, they got a lot on their plate. They got to pay bills. They got to
Mhm.
get into a practice or start their own. They've got to gain customers, all these different things. I get it. I
Mhm.
was there. That's why I chose to do it in school so that when I came out, I was developing practice habits as I was going. I
Mhm.
highly recommend bite the bullet, take it when you're in school,
Right.
because when you come out, you don't have to unlearn bad habits or
Mhm.
get into a habit that can become a bad habit.
Mhm.
Just randomly going through stuff and not actually thinking about what you're doing. Think about this for those of you who are students. You just paid a truckload of money for a lot of education in biology, chemistry, nutrition, neurology,
Mhm.
radiology, differential diagnosis, physiology, nutrition, to go and take all of that information that
Mhm.
you just bought and go into
Mhm.
a practice and only adjust.
Mhm.
You just took all that money and threw it away.
Mhm.
Plus, they are tools that you can use to actually be the best that you can be at your trade. God gave us a purpose to deliver. And when you get a gift, this comes from Denzel Washington's dad told him this. When God gives you a gift and you abuse it or take it for granted, it will go away. It will go away. So you take your gift and you do your best to cultivate it to be as best as possible as you can be. It
Mhm.
is a simple formula of be as good as you can be, get your nickels worth out of school,
Mhm.
treat the patient and fix them. Guess what happens? They go out and tell everybody they just went and saw you. And when they went and saw you, you fixed them. Go see that guy or that girl. Go see that one because they really actually fixed me and it was awesome.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Word of
Dr.
mouth, word of mouth following is it, man.
Very good.
Well, we were talking about too the difference between the pop and like the pop, the adjustment pop and pay, and then walk away clinic versus this is now leveling up and basically taking it upon yourself where you have more of a system that's integrated and addressing everything from the moment, from what they're eating and taking a look at the person as a whole with your system, correct?
Correct. Because your treatment outcome is the product you're selling,
Mhm.
as if you're a mechanic.
Right.
So
Mhm.
when they leave the office, you don't want them falling apart by the time they get to the car. So, what I really try to make sure I do with each office visit is when I'm done with them, have them get up, walk around, challenge the sore pain areas, or repalpate something that was giving them problems, or do a self assessment to make sure that I've got them as good as I can get them on each and every visit. You cannot
Mhm.
get lazy because that is your product walking out the door. That is
Mhm.
your work product that you're selling, and they will advertise for you if you follow that with integrity. Stand by
Mhm.
your product. How well
Mhm.
are you doing? Don't make
Mhm.
excuses. Do it right.
Do it
Very
right. Well, it
good.
sounds
Very
like
good.
yeah, that sounds like a good note to end on, right, Dr. Joe? Is there any
Well,
other
the wise
questions?
words from Dr. Stephan Ediss. You can see Dr. Stephan Ediss in Phoenix, Arizona, in the end of January at the Super Seminar, right? Talking
Check our
about many of these.
schedule at the Nutri-West website.
Mhm.
Um, we've got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of good research in there. If anybody has any questions you'd like me to entertain, any comments, just there's a place where you can put notes, and they find my desk.
And also, of course, always look for Dr. Stephan Edis's column and his articles and upcoming issues of the American Chiropractor. In particular, I know that you wrote recently on posture and technique. Is that correct?
Neck, yeah.
Yeah, technique.
Yes, it'll be a good one. Tech neck is something that is a global problem at every age. From the minute a person picks up an electronic device, and it's a pretty fun article. I encourage you to get into the magazine, read it, visit the American Chiropractor website. They've got all sorts of archived articles that we've also done. I did one on urinary tract infections and carbonic anhydrase. I think that was maybe the first one I ever did. I did one on parasites, homeopathy, soft tissue injuries, and the American Chiropractor has a myriad of Nutri-West faculty authored articles on a ton of stuff. Dr. Lynn Tui just did one on aging and ways to help slow that.
And she's so fantastic. Just go to digital.theamericanchiropractor.com, and if you put in Nutri-West, I think many of these articles will pop up, or search Steve's name, and you'll get all of those articles. Now, be sure, if you're listening at home here, give us a 5-star rating on your podcast on Apple Podcast. Give us a like, send us a message. If you want to hear more from Dr. Ediss in the future, we're happy to have you as always. And looking forward to your upcoming articles.
I thank you very much for having us meaning myself, my wife, and Nutri-West. And we'll look forward to doing this again in the future.
Thanks, Dr. Ediss. That's Ediss, right? Ediss.
Correct.
For TAC Tic Talk, I'm Dr. Joe Busch with Jaclyn Busch and our famous guest here, Stephan Ediss. See you next time.